trial will continue. Oh, you already lost. Shush. The jury's in our favor at the moment. I hope those are cheap. They don't look cheap. Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hollow chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust? Pray, forgive the discourtesy. Lord Von Zykes? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. Cheap trick? Eh? Whatever do you mean? I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I said is the truth. Indeed, stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road, as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir? That's right. This took me the whole day and they paid me a measly tuppence for it. No cat just woke up. Ah, dang. Comedian. I have a question. After I finish this case, if you're still on stream, can we stream 3D World? Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me. Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. Alright, sounds good. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Eh? Me? Well, can't say you're wrong, no. What? And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? Eh? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had a hope of passing it anyway, and we just turned any gentlefolk back when they came. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town. You do realize this guy's like in his 40s. He doesn't look all that fit. In fact, I don't think he even gets enough sleep. I doubt he has the fitness capability on top of the energy to be able to jump 2 yards. Or whatever they're suggesting. Maybe I probably read it wrong. Not jumping over 2 yards, but like whatever. Is that true? Is it? The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsumi walked down Briar Road. Crushed in a single sentence. And, old man. Old man, you can talk. You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nepalese behind you at the time? How would he see behind him, though? Oh, I, can't say as I remember. You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw, but I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being to prove it. I still think we need the trial to keep going forward, though. Order, order! Lord Von Sykes, explain yourself. My lord? You had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve. Why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination? I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he had no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. It's getting serious now. The cape comes off. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What? What are you talking about? My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witness to the stand. Granted, bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. It's next witnesses? It's the couple, right?
Mr. Naruhito, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident.
Yes, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. Oh, yeah. Him, too. I forgot.
I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness.
Alright, no matter who Von Sykes brings to the stand as his witnesses, and no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over. Hello? Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. Is that guy alright? Is he sleeping? He's munching on his hat. Oh, is that his girlfriend? Is this the couple?
Constable royally beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir. And I'm Miss Beatty. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town's hero's wife.
That's a mouthful. What's the story here?
Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day.
Uh-huh. No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually. Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that meters are reading true. And they're responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing our streetlight. I hope you guys pay them enough.
There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all.
Yeah. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet, I'd have collapsed long ago. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. But the London Bobby is a man of honor. Yo, how's it going, Ken? And a man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. B?
That's right, sir. Isn't it, Raleigh? Constable Raleigh beat, sir. Nothing to report on the streets, sir.
I think you really need to just sleep for a whole day, sir. What a great witness he's going to be. What's up, Ken? Very good. I'd like to hear your former testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw in the afternoon of the incident.
Yes, sir.
How old are these people? Oh yeah, I want to see this. Also, are they wearing the same scarf? I bet you it's like long enough that it wraps around both of them. Hang on, let's take a look at their age. 21 and 23. Devoted London Bobby, who witnessed the incident whilst walking down the street with his wife of a year, Patricia. The wife of Constable Roy Beat, who is a witness to the incident. She's relatively recently married and fiercely proud of her policeman husband. You had a date? Oh, nice. How'd it go?
It was our wedding anniversary, and Raleigh was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then the other scattered before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for a help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dark. Raleigh and I both saw him as clear as day.
Went okay? I think it probably went good. Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, might say. We didn't even hear from the Bobby, though.
Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsumi at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you just established in the summation examination will be quashed.
It's death knell, in fact. because that alternative was never viable in the first place. You hope so. What an unfortunate bechancing, and on your wedding anniversary too.
Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed.
Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mrs. Hoseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less, so you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Aha. Except that the man's so tired, his wife had to do all the talking. And, it's not very viable if it's not coming from firsthand, Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense, commence the cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. That makes sense. She's probably just busy. I say just don't worry about it. Okay, let's press everything. No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Miss Beatty? Or Miss Beat?
Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply.
Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? Yeah, but this is probably back in, this is in, the older days, so a female cop or officer just probably wasn't even a question,
I think Riley looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down the ground, doesn't it, darling?
She's choking this poor guy.
Yeah, well, I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there.
Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Just to give you attention.
Oh no, Riley, I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy.
Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you finished your beat for the day, correct?
That's right, sir. Yes. Although, I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I serve my city and my queen to the...
Can we see that? What's that now?
My warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all of us policemen of our sworn duty to patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir, and for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure.
So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then.
But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat put up with a lot being married to a Bobby like me. I went to show my dear wife how much I care.
Aw, that's actually kind of nice.
Oh, Pat. Oh, Raleigh. Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold.
If a little over the top, perhaps. Oh, just let them be. They're young lovers. And then kindly describe what happened next. Yeah, with school and all that. 2 silhouettes. Okay. Let's ask about this. 2 silhouettes?
That's right. They were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man.
This could still be the old man, though.
That does sound exactly like the victim as pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsume.
Yes, unfortunately it does. And you're certain that at the time there was nobody else nearby?
Ah yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there are streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There was nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling?
I wonder if his little notebook is gonna come into the court record.
What?
Also, is her bow also part of her scarf? Or no? It's just something else she made, maybe, with the same material. It's the same coloring.
What? Yes, that's right. Of course, there was a white fog on the ground. But Briar Road is dead straight, and you could see a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's the street lighting as well. I didn't see any other pedestrians.
Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer, please, Mr. B. Are you quite sure of what you just said?
Yes, sir. As a cop who spends all day, every day, keeping watch on the streets, I swear to it, sir. I am as sure as my love for Patricia is true. Oh, Pat.
Oh, okay, never mind. I take back what I said. They're too much. They're still maintaining there was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened.
It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run.
Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly. Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed?
All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor.
Oh wait, I already read it. Oh no, I'm reading it again. Scattered something? What do you mean by that?
Oh well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? What? Oh, yes, that's right. It was some old books.
I see. Whole books.
Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped a number of them on the man where the victim lay on the pavement.
Indeed. As clearly pictured in this photographic print. Boy, don't even get me started on that. I will ban you on the spot.
The wrong Japanese man did that when he did the deed.
Alright, kid. Alright, how about this? You get straight A's in all your classes, then we'll talk about Yakuza 4. Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker.
But we saw him. It was the man in the dark without question, sir. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose. Everything.
Any more insults you want to throw in? Yeah, for real.
That's right, he looked down at that poor defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes. And then suddenly threw his books into the pavement and ran away.
I see. This is tough. Seems as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. That doesn't mean anything. Cops can be corrupted. Now please, continue. You better play the next 3 games of your choose. Oh heck no, not for every A you get. No. You're being a little too demanding there, buddy.
Yes, sir.
And he's back asleep. This could be interesting info, because they did leave the scene, and it looks like. Was it your husband who went to fetch help?
No, I wouldn't. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one, after all. Isn't that right, my darling?
You really need to, like, take that leash off of him. That's what that is. It's not like a lover's scarf. That's a leash you got on that poor fella.
Oh, yes, that's right. I asked Mrs. Beat to go.
Raleigh Beat. Yeah, hang on. I want to see if there's like a pun in her name. Raleigh Beat. Raleigh. I don't know if it's Beat or Beate. Patricia Beat. Whatever. I don't care.
But a Bobby's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guide the scene.
Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance. When you're an E student? Wait. You guys use E as grades? I'm assuming, like, it's probably like the equivalent of, like, failing. Because for us, we go from A to D. And then instead of E, we have F. That's cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, I don't know why we just skipped from D to F. I don't know why we just skip E like that.
That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her to find the right police box.
Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box?
Depends on a crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it.
Oh. You had another metric before, but now you have A through D. Or A through F, okay. But not including E anymore.
Well, the woman was stabbed, it wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia the way to the police box for the beat the incident fell under so she could go and report it. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know?
Thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of two model citizens.
Oh, please! He's making us blush, isn't he, darling?
He's probably just sweating with that heavy scarf he got on him.
Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir.
Let's move on, shall we? You still have E, it means you barely passed. Oh, okay. Got it.
There's definitely that...
Oh, okay. I haven't actually got any evidence yet, or any new statements, so this is the last one. But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you?
We absolutely could! Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know.
Right. You are gonna kill that man. And I'm not gonna defend you in court. I'll let Von Sykes just get you declared guilty.
The light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he?
Or lit, maybe. Yes, and what of the fog? We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. But it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm.
Yes, alright, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about?
The constant fogs makes us eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was the little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? What? Yes. It was the accused, and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the top mouth.
Okay, you don't have to keep saying this again. Hey, how's it going, Adam? Hope you're doing good. That's totally alright, my dude. As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki-san that they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony?
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they saw. Or whatever. Mr. Natsume running around from the scene of on Briar Road that day.
Yes, I feel the same.
So if that's true, where does it leave us?
The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony.
Oh no, what do we do?
If Kazuma-sama were here,
What are you trying to say?
I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony.
What do you mean somewhere else?
Their statements about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you can identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them to make the jury doubt if their pair's memory on the day is accurate.
Okay. Alright.
Quite simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion.
Why do I always seem to be so up against it?
Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something?
Oh yes, of course, what is it?
Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony, is that right? Is it? Well, out with it.
What? No. Oh no, it's really not that at all.
My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything like, oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped?
There we go, start with the books.
I could tell you the names of every single one I could. Every single one. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is?
That will do, Mrs. B.
No, it won't do at all.
She's gonna give up that their memory's bad herself.
That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a moment that Wally will.
I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fists down. Oh, look, his wig is, like, tilted. But perchance you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. B? Might that appease you?
Oh, thank you, my lord. That will settle things nicely. Wait a minute, darling.
Four books? Okay, well, let's press it first. And then we'll just present that he only had 3 books. As we know, there are books dropped at the scene of the crimes, as you say. Those purchased by the accused of the nearby secondhand bookshop at the day in question. What if what if he actually did have 4 books and someone stole it? I don't know. Hang on. Let's just, I'm jumping to conclusions again.
After I've been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the area for good measure. I'm a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Raleigh.
And what was your husband doing at the time?
I was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest.
And you just let him lay there?
He works ever so hard, you know? Ever so hard. Don't you, my darling?
Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime. Well, Mrs. Beat, seeing as you regale the court with your tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind as recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene?
I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening?
Oh.
There was the picture of Monsieur somebody or other, and what's it, yearnings?
Oh, yeah, you got a good memory, alright. Okay. The picture of Monsieur Lecoq, a meal for Gobador and Canterbury yearnings.
Then there was, a meal for someone, and the last one was definitely the thing gummy something. You see?
Thin Gummy. Okay, so that's the book we don't know what she's talking about. Never mind. Okay. Yes, I see there are 1 or 2 holes in your memory.
Oh well, they're along those lines, I'm quite sure.
There are indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it.
Well, what did I tell you? So I think it's very mean the way you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling?
Oh gosh, he's got a gun.
Anyone who upsets my Patricia will have me to answer to.
Can we take the gun away from the sleeping man? Terrifying. Yes, she really is. Okay. Now we gotta skip to the end. Oh, well, I must presented the map. That was close. So, you're saying that there were 4 books?
That's right. I remember all of them. The picture of Monsieur somebody, what's a yearnings, a meal for someone, and a thing gummy something.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. There is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours.
Oh no! What? What flaw?
Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4.
What?
This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books.
Your books?
Yes, and it details Mr. Natsumi's purchases that day. And as you can see, only 3 books are listed.
Only 3? But no, that can't be it. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you. 4 dirty old books.
Oh, really? Have a go look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. Yeah, there's 3 there. As you can clearly see from this evidence as well, there are only 3 books.
What? I just don't believe it. I saw them there, I swear it. I saw them.
No, madam, I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon.
Ugh.
So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken.
Oh no! Oh no! No! Oh no! Oh no! No!
Objection!
She looks like she came from like a fairy tale book or something.
It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nepalese friend.
What?
What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving.
But we gotta chip away at the small stuff to find and expose the bigger things.
So you strive to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair?
Ugh, he sees right through me.
But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you.
What are you talking about?
It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast.
Long live Cusco! A toast to the Emperor!
To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect.
Oh?
You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Rose, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Then the 4th book must not belong to the defendant, but the victim, right? But what about the photographic print? Probably like on the other side of the body. It only shows 3 books.
Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print.
This guy was holding out on more pictures from us. That print, you mean to say...
Allow me to present another, one that shows the victim's hand.
Oh. What does it say? The lion's pride. Oh.
I don't believe it. It's the 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso.
No! No! What if it was Garrett and his wife, and it wasn't that they intentionally stabbed the lady? What if she was throwing things out the window, including the book and the knife, and it hit that lady? Order! Order!
There, you see? Look at that. Look.
Yes.
It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling?
Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir. Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the date in question. Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please.
Oh, yes, of course. The pictures of Monsieur somebody or other.
The pictures of Monsieur Lecoy.
What's in yearnings?
Canterbury Yearnings.
A meal for someone.
A meal for Gabarrar, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witnesses remember the book title flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's power of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that, Raleigh? The gentleman paid me a compliment.
Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless.
But there are only 3 books on that receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4.
There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print.
I'm sorry, Counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from their receipt? Because it wasn't the accused.
It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim.
The victim was holding her own book? Sorry about that.
I wonder what became of that 4th book.
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence.
You will submit that in the aforementioned photographic print to the council, please, council. To the court, please, council.
My pleasure, my lord.
Alright. And the book. Let's go ahead and take a look at both of those.
The prosecution rests. I have nothing further to add.
Alright, let's take a look at the picture first. What? The book is burnt! It did come from Garadeb's place then, like I thought. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look at this! The book has been badly burnt. You're right. You've never been able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages.
What a terrible waste. Judging from the score judges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently.
A book. Recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me? Okay.
Let me see, it's a book entitled The Lion's Pride.
I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all. So it wouldn't be something I've heard of. Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I've heard of a book by that name before. Very recently, too.
It's a title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo.
Can we open up the book? Maybe there's a name on the front. Alright, well there we go.
What? You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. Spurious longer route to the accused lodgings that you try to establish information examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination.
Futile walked right into this, didn't I?
You see, everything we said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat.
You're already married, and smart person, genius.
I said smart person. I meant to say genius.
So perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nepalese travesty? Or is a decision you have to make all too apparent already? You've heard all the witnesses and seen all the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we're in a terribly precarious position.
I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, it could very well just make matters worse. Think, Ryunosuke, think. What do you do now? Make matters worse, so wait and see then. Maybe somebody's gonna come in and be like, wait! And hopefully I'm thinking it's gonna be Sholmes over here. Should just keep quiet now and see what happens. Oh no, we're about to just lose, I think. Well, it appears the defense has no objection at this juncture, in which case...
Mr. Naruhodo, was I not clear?
Whoops.
Case of the defense is in great danger.
Yes, I realize that, which is why I decided to let the sweat drip from my trembling brow in silence. You're so right, sorry. If I don't say anything now, it'll all be over. It won't end well for us. I can't let that happen. No, wait! The defense...
Objection!
Yeah, go ahead and penalize me. Gosh darn it. Because that's sapless hesitation cannot go unpunished. They just said it'll make matters worse if I did raise an objection. If I hate moments like this. Okay. Come on. Did I raise an objection out? Never mind, I'm just gonna read all this. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say.
If I may, Lord Von Sykes, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point.
Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed. For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this.
Oh?
I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you'll have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable.
Mr. Naruhodo?
One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance, so the court will hear you, madam. Go ahead, Mr. Sato, please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. You believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So you must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible.
Yes, I understand, and thank you, Mr. Sato. This is it. Sato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. It is that apparently offers a profound insight into this case, and is him that has been overlooked. See, I don't know if we need to present the photo of the book or just the book. I'm just going to present just the book. The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book found in the victim's hand. We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. So you guys don't even question the burn on it, then. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear? Oh, yes, my lord. It's,
Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track.
Yes, I think you might be right. So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case which this fourth book conceals? Turn around right here. I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What do you... Good gracious! It's been burned to a crisp. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching that what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Wait, I just remembered something. I could be very wrong on this, but didn't they also say Garrett was missing a knife? Or not? Am I wrong in remembering that? Probably I'm wrong. I'm not sure. Unnatural, you say? Who would have been my Nepalese friend? Oh? We're at to concede to the point. We're at to concede the point. If it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day? Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? Its origins, probably? A charred book. There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage this sorry tome has suffered? Its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner. I beg your pardon?
But we already know who the book belonged to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor after all. It's obviously hers.
Well, she got whacked by it. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has not yet to be answered. However, I just pray that they don't pull another, like Max Galacticus flying type nonsense from the second game up in here. With the statue head flying. It better not be that the book was thrown out the window after she already been stabbed and laid unconscious and it just landed in her hand. If that is actually what happened, I will hate it. I hate when the games get absurd like that. Oh, God. As to the question of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers.
Good gracious. How could you possibly...
Very well. I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry.
Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. Like, I just hope, like, the book just hit her, or was on the ground already and she picked it up. That's what I'm hoping here.
So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this book?
So we're probably already going to be close to done with this case then. If we're already, like, figuring out who may be the attacker then.
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb.
The landlords?
Whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but it's going to be a giant coincidence. Of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garadeb herself.
Oh my goodness me! I think you must be mistaken, sir.
He didn't say it was you, though. Did he say jury number 4? Yeah, you kind of just, like, pointed that out yourself.
I'm not Mr. Garadeb's wife. I'm his maid.
Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadeb's house?
I would never presume to know all the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused's landlady, you say? You implicate this hardworking member of the public? You besmirch her without a shred of evidence? Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's house.
Good lord. What sort of incident, counsel?
A fire, my lord.
Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite book called The Lion's Pride.
Oh, his face.
The Lion's Pride.
By Jove, that very same title, that's the subject of this debate.
Oh dear me!
Objection!
This is risible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name is involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime.
I mean, it was just right out the window. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garadeb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garadeb even amid the flames.
Oh, how awful! I can't imagine being so horrid to the one you love.
Yeah, says the lady who's keeping her husband on a leash and choking him half to death.
Can you, Raleigh?
Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir.
Yeah, because you're already half conscious at the time.
Had all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, backed up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen.
Yep. It all went flying, including a knife. The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
Yep. And maybe she picked it up. I prayed that she picked it up and it didn't just land in her hand. No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted by the very evening of the incident. And there's no report of the Garadep's window pane being broken. The window was already open. That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garadep household. But it's not conceivable that the window was open at the time and... Not even remotely. But there was a fire in their house, meaning they had to open up the windows to let the smoke out. How about that, Sir Prosecutor?
Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter.
Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garadep's wife? I believe it's a possibility, my lord. That's quite enough. Is it the wife? It's gotta be the wife. Yeah.
Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you know now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward, a mean coward.
Really?
Claiming that our little theft set the whole neighborhood all lit, honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance sake? How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case. Not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name.
Our family's name? Oh. No, I assure you that was never my intention.
Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense.
What? Did she just try swiping at that guy?
I should box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable.
You're right. Here we go. How long have we sat here now listening to this Nipponese spouting out his fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with a mustache, and he ran away from the scene too.
I do declare you're right.
It's true.
Yes, what did I tell you?
Makes sense to me.
Huh? Sorry. What's that?
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Von Zykes?
In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then, one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage.
What are you talking about? You don't even drink all your wine that you've been bringing up in here. You just throw it everywhere. No, wait. Oh, what the heck? Don't put your legs up on the table, please.
Books are your predilection, my learned friend. Study them on your own time.
This guy has no, like, manners when it comes to courtroom behavior. It's just throwing things around like, man. What? No, forget the discourtesy this time. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty! Guilty!
Alright, come on.
Guilty!
Into the flame you go. Thank you for that unambiguous response. That's twice now, it's over.
Mr. Nohara, don't give up.
Mrs. Sato?
Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet.
You're not suggesting...
Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point.
So I wonder if that means, like, you can do them as many times as you want if every time the jury always... unanimously votes guilty. Wonder if there's like a limit or not.
You can still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance.
My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination. Do you believe you still have tricks up your sleeve? I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's chance, I have to stay strong and determined. Darn right we do. To be continued. This has to be like towards the end. Bum bum bum. I never noticed the stained glass window in the back. It's kind of cool. Although, it almost looks like Umbrella symbol. Like you can even see it right here. The red and white circle part. Is Umbrella in this game? It is. It is Capcom. So, we got Phoenix Wright's ancestors fight zombies. Yo, they could do a crossover with Village, cause you know, like this is probably like a little bit before around the time Mother Miranda found the Mega Vicey. Anyways, I consider the defense's counsel's request for a further summation examination of the jury. And I have determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to the procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman?
We are, my lord.
Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you to now state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. Judicial findings. Begin.
The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? It was 3 books of his.
If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider.
Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window is closed, can it?
Dearie me, there's only a little book. Probably life-threatening even with a direct hit.
Look, just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tidy bit of trouble.
Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. It gave me the sneezes.
Yeah, I like how I'm gonna be forced to press these people again because they're not giving me any info. Yes, considerably more tangible arguments from all members of the jury this time. No, it's pretty much the same amount as the last one. With one notable exception, of course.
My learned student friend was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. Moreover, no one else was even at the scene to commit the crime.
Well, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how it can be argued any other way.
That means I'm afraid that during this summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts.
But how? What would even constitute a tangible explanation here?
Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman, and how? Those 2 details are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and a method by which the attack was conducted.
And there I was thinking this might be hard.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, you have to do it, otherwise this really will be where the trial ends.
No pressure then. It's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you are prepared, counsel? Oh yes, my lord. Alright, Ryunosuke, focus your mind now. Clearly, the key to the summation examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid. Should I say Mrs. Garadeb? Yeah, I need to press her, and then juror number 5 and 6.
We have a book that disappeared from the Garadeb's house on the evening of the incident, and the 4th book found in the victim's hand.
There must be a way to link that. Yes, that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learned in my short career so far, whatever it takes.
Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Garadeb and how she reacts. Even if the things other people say.
Oh, really? That's new. Okay, then. Well, let's just go ahead and press her.
Hold it!
My little book was on fire at the time, was it not? Or but the little book.
With flames of love, I'll have you know.
Oops. Ooh, I'm sorry. I bumped the mic. I should be okay. Yeah, we're good. There's really no such thing as a loving incendiary bomb. That poor guy.
Well, he brought it up upon himself, as playing with fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree?
Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstandings, Mrs. Garradep.
Never you mind that. The point is, we were just having a jovial little dispute, nothing more. And I won't have any more of these suggestions that it has anything whatsoever to do with this crime.
I really like this theme, by the way. Alright, well, we'll see about that. What about juror number 5? It doesn't seem to be turning a hair, Mrs. Garradep's relentless onslaughts.
Someone's always used to it. What a gentle soul he is.
Alright. You just want to get this over with? How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here. Well, him and me both, like I said before. What? I told you already, I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home some readies with me tonight, you'll find me floating face down in the Thames tomorrow morning. What? You heard me. My missus isn't one to mess about, you know. She can be fierce, believe you me. Another shining example of marital bliss, then. Situation like this cropped up the other day. It was, well... Do you know? It's funny, but I can't quite remember. Sorry? It's too frightening, that's the thing. I must have blocked it out. I like... the fact that he's, like, having a, like, dispute with his wife, maybe he'll, like, raise a flag with her, like, hey, your wife's probably good. Or, like, she's like, I can relate. I don't know. Helpful.
I wonder if Mr. Beat will ever be dragged into the Thames by his scarf.
Don't even go there, Mrs. Sato. There must be some way to jog his memory about this. Alright. Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case? Sorry? What's that? You'll have to speak up, lad. Could you tell us more about that fire? It was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. And it had 75 candles on top of it. And damn, what a sight to behold it was. You put candles on a cake? Was it some kind of devil worship? Oh, so that's not a thing yet. Okay. Of course not. It was it's not a thing in Japan. Never mind. It was an angel cake to celebrate my birthday, of course.
Seems that's a common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Naruhodo.
That's funny, though. It's a devil cake?
Anyway, I mustered all my puff to blow them out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go out, but candles went flying all over the room. The furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke.
Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold. But how did you catch a cold from a fire?
Well, the fiasco was the grandchildren blessed them. Threw water all over me as they tried to put out the flames.
Oh, okay.
And then, because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to clear it.
Okay. That's what I was waiting for him to say the windows were open. The windows.
But then winter air rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave, it did.
I wonder if I'm gonna have to do, like press it again, and then she'll have, like, a new reaction. Because that's what happened in the last case, and that threw me off. Like, I had to, like, press what I already pressed, and then, like, only then did someone, like, have, like, some, like, reaction to it.
I caught a terrible cold from it. It put me in a hospital for a while. I won't forget that birthday in a hurry.
I knew it was devil worship all along. Something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason.
We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsume, could have attacked the young woman on the street. As well as how well he or she could have done it.
Yes, but once again, the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. A lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments on the contrary.
I think you're going to need to put them against each other to force them to accept an alternative explanation.
Yes. I don't necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions, just a connection might do the trick. Alright, see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go in for a strike.
That's the spirit.
Alright, we're just gonna press everybody. Well, we're already halfway done with that.
Hold it!
I don't think this thing's gonna bring up anything, but we'll see. But as we know now, there are 4 books, not 3. Well, what difference does it make? There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord. Yes, that's the part I have a problem with. Sorry? Well, at the point the woman was stabbed, this landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife, or something, you say. That's not exactly how I put it, no. Well, anyway, the point is, the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened.
I think that's what you call a strong alibi.
So it could have been the landlord who did it, which only leaves the Nepalese fellow. Honestly, I can't see what all this palaver is about. It's a done deal, isn't it? I suppose it is, since I've nothing witty left to say. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press everyone first, since I only got 2 left, and then I'll see if, like, press them again and see if her reaction changes. Because I don't really see her reaction changing the first time around. I don't know.
Hold it!
Novel indeed, because just like the novel thrown out, the knife was too. So you might be willing to change your decision, you mean?
Oh my, such delight in your face, but I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I am a very modern metropolitan and rational woman.
That's great.
If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So why read them in the first place? You see, modern, metropolitan, and rational thinking, wouldn't you say?
And not at all extreme.
As I see it, an overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicated by overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite 1 or 2 minor puzzlements, I do declare that man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan...
Okay, you can stop with that.
Wouldn't you say?
Overwhelmingly.
But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know. So I'd be only too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you could come up with one.
I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could.
Let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern and metropolitan young lady.
Right. I'm glad you admitted rational there. Yeah.
Hold it!
What about the possibility that the window was open?
What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been.
How can you be so sure?
The prosecutor fellow over there said it earlier. The prosecutor fellow over there said it earlier, didn't he? Winters in London are no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of cold indoors. So no, that window wasn't open. Us Londoners like sitting by the fire and staying warm, see?
But you couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you? I wonder if I need to pit him with juror number 6.
It just wasn't. That wouldn't have opened it.
Then what's the point in even having windows, huh? Counsel, you will kindly refrain from childish bickering. Sorry. Somehow I need to show there's an undeniable possibility that the window was open. This young man isn't going to budge otherwise. Okay, let's press this guy again. And now let's see if it'll change anything now that we've pressed everyone. Did you change your statement from before? Wait, he did? Wait, did he? Shoot. I didn't even notice that. Winter house fires are dire. You have to open windows to clear the smoke. That's when you get the chill, you see. Okay.
Oh yes, it was one of my most memorable birthdays, you see. I couldn't let it go unremembered.
I'm sure the defendant will be delighted that you're using his trial to explore your past. And how is that memory related to this case exactly?
Huh? Sorry. What's that? You'll have to speak up, I'm afraid.
Never mind. He's as deaf as a post when he wants to be. But actually, this old man's antidote might just provide the alternative explanation I need to make my point to some of the other jurors.
We use unlit candles on my birthday this year. It's safer that way.
Okay. Let me see if anyone else's, like, statements have changed. Okay, nope. When our house fires are dire, you have to open windows to clear the smoke. Okay.
Objection!
There we go. Those two juror statements clearly contradict one another. They do? How exactly, counsel?
Don't point at me again. I told you it wasn't me.
Huh? What's that you say? Speak up, lad. Speak up. Juror number 3, do you see?
Oh, me? See? See what, sir?
Did you hear juror number 6 accounts of his birthday celebrations last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter.
Well, yes, of course, because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from a fire, then you'd be mad not to open the... Oh.
Exactly. On the day in question, at the times of the incident, there was a fire in the Gyaradev household. Mr. Gyaradev had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke.
Oh my.
Oh, my hat.
Oh! Pursue.
Excuse me.
Juror number 4, do you have something to say about that? Oh, she's really drinking that tea now. Mrs. Gyaradev.
Oh, dearie me! What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding who I really am?
It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now.
What is this?
When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window?
What? I beg your pardon? What are you insinuating?
The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window.
And what if we did? Oh, alright then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering.
Even though your house was on fire? Our priorities, am I right?
Oh, and you never stop throwing until the anger subsides. It would be terribly bad for the nerves to do otherwise.
Of course. I should have realized.
That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. You managed to establish that the window was open. We simply must have that added to Mrs. Gyaradev's formal statement.
So do I have to, like, pit them again? Like, I'm kind of confused here. The windows could have opened when the woman was throwing books. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. Let's see if this changed real quick. I mentioned, yes, the windows was open at the time. I clearly forgot, but it's true. The 4th book at the scene of the crime shows various obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, is the book that Mr. Gyaradev told us he has been reading.
Well, I really couldn't say.
On the day in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading?
I did. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now you come to mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right.
So you want to take away anything that brought him joy, I see. Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset?
Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on as well, you know.
I really don't.
I barely noticed I was throwing a book, much less the title of it.
Oh, hello.
Excuse
We're
me.
just pursuing people at this point. What is it, juror number 5? You know something. I remember what it was. That memory I blocked out. Huh? I was listening to that, what this granny was saying. Oh, she's gonna be mad at you now, calling her a granny. Brought it all flooding back.
Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Gyaradev or the maid, I'll have you know.
The man doesn't even flinch. He's telling me that's not because he's used to being hit all the time. It was about 2 weeks ago. I just got back home after work life. Put my hand in my pocket for the wages I just earned that day, and I nearly died. There was a hole. Every last penny had dropped out.
And what does this have to do with a case? Oh dear, what a disaster.
You haven't heard the half of it, boy.
No?
The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out before I told her straight. I lost a day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ears. Stuck into the wall next to me, it did. About an inch deep.
No words, just terror.
You could smell it then, you know. That god-awful stench of the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I could tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it?
I'll never use that word lightly again.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it.
Listen, Haruhi, you mustn't think that all women are so short-tempered and unrefined.
No, I wasn't thinking that.
Throwing household objects at people is, well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor. Use a bow or the like.
Oh gosh. What? Attack? Who are you going to attack?
Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think.
Alright, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later, if I dare. Woman in rage will hurl almost anything at you. The kitchen knife really brought that home. Man, we really are just going from testimony to testimony. Alright, now let's press this.
Hold it!
Your wife really threw a kitchen knife at you?
That's right. She was chopping me with it. Had a tidy edge on it, believe me. Still, it's all memories, isn't it? Started with that smile she threw me when we were courting. And since then, the list of things she's thrown at me has grown along with our relationship. There was a cup, then a glass, then a pot, a kettle, a chair, a wardrobe,
Dang, she threw a bathtub? I was about to say, dang, she threw a wardrobe, and then I saw bathtub. Your wife must be even beefier than you.
Things came to a head last week when she threw me right into the things. Still, she's not so bad when she's calmed down. She's a little sweetheart, really.
I'm so happy for you.
You wanna know what I think? I think this whole idea of ladies first that we're so obsessed with in this country is thought up by some clever lads who've been tossed into the Thames a few too many times by their wives.
That's a very interesting theory.
What a terrible thought.
On the face of it, this juror's statement just sounds like a really extreme antidote. But I think it might turn out to be an extremely powerful weapon. A weapon that I might be able to use to make the jurors accept an alternative explanation here. Oh, okay. Okay, and
Objection!
pit them two together.
Good grief, you mean they don't contradict each other? Explain yourself.
Wait, what? Clearly have a deep... Oh, okay, never mind. Juror number 2, do you think perhaps that this could be one novel alternative?
Oh my, whatever do you mean?
An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back.
What are you talking about?
You demonstrated that the 4th book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Gyardub's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Gyardub household to the street below.
Yeah, what's that now?
After all, Mrs. Gyardub could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4?
What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole?
I'm beginning to think that ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she had a feeling that this might be what happened.
Now you listen here, you English gala.
As the foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house, but what? What was it? I'm really taking a big gamble here. That was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Gyardub household to the scene of the crime was the knife.
Take that!
Juror number 4, Mrs. Garadeb.
What? What now?
I must apologize in advance for this, but I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before?
Ah,
Good Lord, Counsel, what on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lodged into the victim's back, man. My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Garadeb was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against the window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. You can't seriously believe that. The book was found in the victim's grasp.
Are you saying that it flew out of the window and across the streets to land neatly in her hand?
I hope not. Ugh. You, my missus, hasn't got a name like that. Yes, I admit there are many details we don't yet understand, but that's the point. That's precisely why. We must not allow this trial to end. Not right now.
Oh my!
Yeah?
Mrs. Garadeb, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before or not?
oh.
Ooh. Ah, plus you.
My lord, I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all.
Thank you, madam. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end now with so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman? I have to agree. Not that I think the granny didn't mind.
Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either.
All together now, ladies and gents. There we go. Nice. We did it. That was actually kind of interesting that it was different than any of the other past formation examinations. Like, we kind of like pit two against each other, and after that was just going from testimony to testimony. I like that.
Congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo.
So as a result of the defense's summation examination, a number of jurors' leanings have changed. But here's the thing I'm worried about. Mrs. Garadeb should not be a juror at this point. And if she still is, she could just never vote not guilty. She could just keep voting guilty this whole time. In fact, she's the only one who hasn't changed her notion at all. She's always been voting guilty at this point. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided. This trial will continue. Because as long as she keeps voting guilty, the trial will keep going and they'll never be in, like, innocent. So, like, I don't know. Hey, Krisha, how's it going? Now then, Lord Von Zykes, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. But what follows is so repugnant. It's good for nothing save the gooder. If I may, Lord Von Zykes, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's arguments is a joke to which I barely know how to respond, but let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative positions of those being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time? I'm doing good. It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Garadeb household runs a rather wide street, Briar wrote. Yeah, well, you know what? In a fit of rage, you get like, you're just stronger, okay? That woman went Super Saiyan, and you can't deny that. Which means that the distance from the Garadeb's house to the scene is some, yes, 15 yards.
Let me see, 15 yards. That's around 14 meters.
For 14 meters? Oh, that's a little further than I imagined.
And as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted as having partners significance, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book, wantonly hurled by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road, nearly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend?
I still think maybe she saw it, bent down to pick it up, and then was stabbed. That's how it was in her hand. Oh,
Did that jackknife follow a near identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots.
ugh. There's nothing I can say to that.
That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice.
Mrs. Sato?
Serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he?
Oh no, that's fighting words for her. Maybe let's pick our battles here.
My lord, may I be allowed to speak?
As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense, yes. Go ahead.
The prosecution may consider the idea of fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, juror number 4, Miss Joan Garadeb, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination.
Saints alive! Cross-examination of a juror? Order! 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 Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
And unnecessary.
Lord Von Zykes?
There are already witnesses in stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. My learned friend's partial theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes.
They wouldn't have seen it because they were focused on the other stuff, plus there was a bit of a fog. I would assume.
We must assume that they would be able to testify accordingly.
What say you, witnesses? Yeah, I guess we still got a little bit more to this case than I thought.
Yes, sir. Constable Royal Beat reporting for duty, sir.
Well, good morning, officer.
Sorry for dozing until now, sir. I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir.
Oh, they're so heroic, those London Bobbies.
Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you. But no more.
Oh, Riley, my hero, you make me swoon.
Very well, I hereby reject the defense's request. Oh. And order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith before the court in any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events.
Yes, sir.
Alright, so I guess we're not done with these losers yet. Let's get them out the way, and then we'll be going to the culprit.
This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb. Believe me, a London Bobby is good for his load. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Garadeb house are top-hinged casements.
Obviously, if anything has been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Raleigh was there to make sure nothing was disturbed.
I didn't take my eyes off the crime scene for a moment, sir.
Oh, you were sleeping, you know it.
Nothing strange to report on that.
She even said that you were lying face deep in the snow. Well, this is quite startling. Top-hinged casement windows?
That detail was not in the police report, Constable.
Ah, yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. Ahem.
You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable.
No, sir.
Sorry, but... exactly, it's a top-hinged casement window.
And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend.
Of course, sorry.
I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Garredep's room.
Alright, I'll try.
So the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house.
Oh. Well, great.
But it's a top-hinged casement window. It swings open along the upper edge, you see?
I'm glad you rectified your ignorance. The casement window's most prominent feature.
And yeah, there's no way it could go that far across the road.
Is it a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount?
It prevents it opening? This is all news to me.
Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife were to have been thrown through the opened window, it would have clattered against this pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below.
No.
You see the problem then? Good. Your education of windows is complete. There is never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane has been shattered. Something we discounted already.
That can't be. Great.
Did you see that, Riley? That young Japanese man just collapsed in agony.
Yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw how he crumbled before me.
Hey, Riley, you're so strong.
How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and already my argument's been destroyed. Counsel, if you could drag yourselves upright again, the court awaits your cross-examination. My lord. Oh good, another desperate situation. Okay. Let's just go ahead to the part where he's lying face down. Wait, there was 5 statements? I thought it was 4. Okay. Let's just go ahead and press this real quick. Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer, is that right?
That's right, yes. Would have been on Riley's beat, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course.
Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat.
So Riley told me the way. Only I sort of got a little lost on the way.
Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Riley.
Ugh. You guys need to quit. Oh, please.
So I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, my Riley was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed.
I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true Bobby is never really off duty, sir.
Yeah, except when you're sleeping, right here.
Hold it!
Nothing to report.
That's correct, sir. I had my eyes wide open the entire time, never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. I can swear to that on the yard's honest, sir.
Really? That seems a little strange.
Beg your pardon, sir. Strange, sir. Seems altogether regular to me.
This burnt copy of the Lion's Pride was originally in the Garredep household. The question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time?
Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burned as well.
Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As we can see from this photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder.
Well, sir, the book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene.
Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. The two mysteries of how that knife ended up in her back, and how the book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. I have no right to speak out. What do you mean?
I requested the cross-examination, Mrs. Garrett, without consulting you. Even the judge did deny me.
Oh, I see. Well, I agree with you. We do need testimony from Mrs. Garredep if we're ever going to get to the truth of this matter.
Do you really think so?
Well, think about it. No matter how far it is across the road or how the window opens, Mr. Garredep's books found its way to the scene of the crime somehow, didn't it?
You're right. And then there was
Mrs. Garredep's reaction to me showing her that knife. The man was hiding something, I'm sure of it.
You're right again.
We need to use this cross-examination and uncover more clues. We'll get to the bottom of this one way or another, I swear.
Yes.
Okay, I guess we'll just have to press everything. How can you say that for certain? A very good question, Sab. And the answer is this. We need that book. There's the noble funding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all of us policemen of our sworn duty.
He showed us that before, didn't he?
Did he? Can't say I remember. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. It's what the job's all about. And that is why I can stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you Bobby's good for his word. While rubbing my tired eyes admittedly. Sad.
Oh, Raleigh, you're so manly.
Will you guys stop this already? Just get a rum. No, none of this is what I meant. When how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garadev?
Ah, I see, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir.
Yes, well... So could you answer the question? That was a waste of time then.
Absolutely, sir. I will answer it to the fullest of my abilities, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garadev's domestic dispute can't be related to this case. But before I get into that, sir, just one thing.
Yes?
I'd very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard, so I hope you'll take back some tales of us London Bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles.
Just give us the book already! I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here.
So to that end, sir, I'll be happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. But I must warn you, you won't be able to get through it without shedding a few tears.
Thank you. I'll try. There we go, finally! And now we probably use this on the other part. Just in case. Let me get it lined up. I don't want to present, I just want to examine it. Small floating wallet that identifies London bodies and contains the rules of conduct which they must adhere. A policeman will strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. A patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for the furtherance of community relations. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigation and help detectives. Okay. Nothing strange to report. What about the knife, though? Policies of... Okay. So principles of policing. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. Okay. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Let's just go ahead and press these two statements real quick.
Hold it!
Just in case. By which you mean they didn't fully open, is that correct?
Yes, sir. They're just there to allow a little bit of air through the house, you see, so they're restricted as to how much they open.
And therefore, anything thrown out of the window from inside the room, simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map.
Okay, good. So, maybe we need to just press everything. Shouldn't be presenting anything yet, since we're still getting stuff updated. Here's the location where objects would have fallen. Yes, directly opposite the scene of the crime on the other side of the rather wide road. It would have been so hard for somebody to mention this top hinge casement thing before. Well, I have another question for you, Constable.
And what would that be, sir?
How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Gyarados' house is furnished with? Hey, that's true.
Ah, well, sir, that's very simple. See, I helped with the investigation yesterday.
And what's so funny about that, ma'am?
Excuse me.
Do you have something to add, Mrs. B?
I'm sorry.
You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that?
Oh, I was just remembering. That's all.
Oh shoot, sorry. I was dropping my controller.
We really were so lucky.
Lucky? What do you mean?
Well, of course I feel terrible for that poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. We were just so lucky it didn't happen on Raleigh's beat. It was so close, you see.
Oh, I hadn't realized.
Oh yes, that street, Briar Road, that's the boundary between Raleigh's beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love?
Constable B?
Oh, yes, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out with the interviewing the occupants of the Gyarados household yesterday. Their house is on my beat, you see, sir?
I really was cutting it close then.
Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Gyarados household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it is as well?
Outside Mr. Gyarados' house? Yes, ma'am. The pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat.
I see. I was unaware of that.
Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of the Briar Road, we would never have been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. That's the life of a Bobby.
No. No, don't. Oh. What if the body was moved by these two? Or maybe by her? What if they moved the body so she did it so they could, like, go celebrate their anniversary and it would be someone else's problem? That's what happened. Extraordinary people are Bobbies, tirelessly working for the benefit of our Londoners.
Do you know what I think? I think it was the good Lord's way of rewarding my Raleigh for all his hard work. Don't you think so, my darling?
That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it.
I think perhaps we should make sure we have that information officially on record.
Leave it to me, Mr. Naruto. I'll take care of it immediately.
Okay, well, I think we're just going to press everything at this point then.
And now it's my turn, I think.
Since we got... yeah, I think we just need to press... Oh, that's it. You just need to get that and then I'll let you move on. Okay.
Can I ask you something, please, Mr. Lawyer, sir?
Oh, yes, of course. What is it?
You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell.
What? I wasn't really, I mean... What's she doing? What if the book never landed in her hand, or she even picked it up, but when they moved the body, she just put the book in the lady's hand?
Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make me my testimony any less valuable. You might just see me as the wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am.
I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubted you.
No excuses, I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you?
Yes, Miss Beat, I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes the path of least resistance is the sage one. Ain't that the truth? That was a very loud mutter.
I heard that. That Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's word counts for nothing, does he? Well, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Riley won't.
Duly noted, Mrs. Beat. Please, I humbly ask you to continue.
What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder? I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down. My sense of direction's a little...
Okay. Mrs. Beat, nobody's questioning what you told us.
I saw it, I did that evening. I saw it clearly. The little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved back slinking away from the scene.
Ha!
I don't know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books and knives flying through the sky.
all very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction.
Oh, yes, well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ended up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Raleigh. You ever get so...
Okay. Is this even gonna prove anything? Constable B, is there a problem?
No, sir. No problem, sir.
Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps?
Well, in a way, sir, yes. I was just remembering that the same thing happened that evening is all.
You mean Mrs. B lost her way on the night of the incident?
Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine. She was gone a fair bit longer than what I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside to...
While he was sleeping, she did move the body. That's what it was.
I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone a good 15.
Oh, Raleigh, you're such a tease. But the reason I was so long is because of the bouquet, silly.
The bouquet? Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about?
It was a present for our wedding anniversary. Raleigh's so romantic. He saved up for it with farthings and halfpennies he found in the gutter while doing his rounds.
Yes, how romantic.
I've forgotten all about it until just now. Had you, my darling?
Yes, but that was just between us. No talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise.
Really? Oh.
What was that all about? Constable B looked very obliviously troubled during that exchange.
I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. But I'm quite sure of one thing. We have to ask Mrs. Beat about the bouquet.
Mrs. B, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it in your testimony, please.
Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to.
What is this? I thought we were so close to the truth, and now it feels like we're just getting pushed back further and further. What happened was I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while. You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime?
Yes, that's right. Wow, I was so upset. We ran over and saw it. It was a woman with a knife in her back. I was so shocked I dropped the bouquet Raleigh gave me. It was in a dark spot where the streetlights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice at first.
So there's probably some of the flowers still left at the crime scene then. And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on?
Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing was, is when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all.
Oh, so it was Bobby that moved it then? I'm confused. I thought it was her that moved it.
In case you need reminding, Mrs. Beat, the victim is not deceased.
I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road.
Your husband, presumably?
That's right, silly me. I've gone over to the wrong side of the street. Although I'm going to blame the bouquet this time. I can't think of how it got there. I really can't.
So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of Briar Road to the opposite. Curious indeed.
Isn't it? But the worst of it is I forgot to pick the bouquet up again where we left the scene. That beautiful rose Raleigh brought me, with that change from the gutter he spent so long collecting.
By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this sorry solitary rose?
Oh, yes, that's it. That's bouquet Raleigh bought me for our anniversary with bits of change he found in the gutter.
Maybe just call it a rose? Tell us, Lord Von Zykes, where did you come by the flower? According to report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Garadeb household. In front of the Garadeb's house? Though it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case, since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare.
Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. Could I have it back now, please?
Oh, I think for good measure this rose should be added to the court record as evidence.
Oh,
Okay.
but it's a symbol of our love. I want it back after the trial, do you hear me? I want it back.
Good grief! Rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget Mrs. Beat.
Oh my lord. Okay. Man. Present for Patricia. Beat from her husband Raleigh. The shock of seeing the stabbed victim caused... Is there anything about this rose? An English rose? It's such a beautiful flower. Ah, this is a rose, is it? I've never seen one before.
Do you not take an interest in flowers, Mr. Naruhodo?
I wouldn't say that exactly, but I do know 3 types at least.
Gosh, 3?
Yes, plum blossom, peach blossom, and cherry blossom.
Perhaps you should consider branching out.
Ha, get it? Get it? Branching out?
Learning some that aren't fruit tree based, for example.
What's this? Anything important? It's very stylish paper the flower's wrapped in, isn't it? It's a newspaper.
It's just an old newspaper, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, I suppose it's because I'm not used to seeing English print. It's so exotic to me.
I see.
Something wrong?
Oh no, no. I was just thinking that if you wrapped a stone-baked sweet potato in an English newspaper, it might look like some sort of fancy cake.
Sasato-san, you do love your cakes. Okay, so this is the same thing. So I don't think we're gonna get anything new from it. Just in case. Let me do this, just to make sure. Okay, yeah. Nothing new. Alright. Now we haven't pressed this statement, I believe. This one right here, right?
Hold it!
I'm not sure. Let's just see. Recording my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark.
Hilda, Valley, and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking at our lucky star.
Sorry?
The star that will guide us to eternal happiness.
Didn't it guide you to answer the question?
If a flaming book had cut across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star.
And if I seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. Let Riley be an inspector, I would have said. 3 times at least.
Of course, what with that smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars.
In short, are you trying to say that neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you?
Yes, sir, that is correct, sir. As sure as the night sky in London is starless, sir.
Certainly seems like they're telling the truth.
And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so we ran straight over to help her.
Okay. Make sure nothing was disturbed. What happened was I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for a moment, so nothing strange to report on that front. So is this what I need to present on?
Objection!
There we go. You claim, Constable Beat, there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene. That cannot be.
What do you mean to say?
In your testimony just now, Mrs. B, you explained to the court when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road to where the victim was attacked. Considering the size of that mere bouquet, a single sorry bloom can be so described. No doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs.
Migo.
Objection!
If that were the case, why did Constable B not testify to the fact?
No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. Constable Pete swore to that on Skyline Yard's honor. But the bouquet belonged to me. It had nothing to do with the case. That's why Riley didn't mention it, I'm sure.
No, because sadly it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way around. What are you talking about? Think about it.
Besides Mrs. Beats' bouquet, there's Mr. Garadeb's book. Mr. Garadeb's copy of The Lion Pride, which was thrown out of the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beats' bouquet should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime on the east side of the street. But in fact, yep, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's house. There's no logical explanation for those things, unless somebody deliberately moved them.
What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Raleigh's done something wrong.
Don't you listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says. Uttering on about books and bouquets, why should we care? It's nitpicking, that's what it is.
Oh good, Mrs. Garadeb's come around. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garadeb, but deliberately meddling with the scene of a crime is a criminal offense. It's called,
Tampering, Mr. Naruhodo.
but the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it, for a very subtle but compelling reason.
Objection!
Tampering? You barely heard the term before. Tell me, my learned friend, who would possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception?
Yes, there is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and all that testimony points to that one particular person. Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime? Raleigh Beat. I would say there's only one person it could have been. Constable Raleigh Beat, it was you. What? A policeman? Member of Scotland Yard?
What nonsense! Why would my Raleigh do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. No Bobby works more tirelessly for the people of London.
Mrs. Beat, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go on a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it.
You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. What about that Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
Well, he would have grabbed his books, though. If that was true, Constable Beat would have seen him do it.
Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. B, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Ah, well, we...
Objection!
Got you there, lady.
First you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there is only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime: to hide something.
That's right. He's right. But my husband and I just happened to be there, that's all. So why would we have anything else to hide?
He just didn't want to be on duty.
It doesn't make sense.
You offer no motive for this alleged tampering. And until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats.
Constable Beat had a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair.
Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve this mystery?
Counsel, you have made a serious accusation against a London police officer. If mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irrevocably damaged. With that stark warning in mind, you will now explain to the court the motive for this alleged tampering. Yes, my lord. Here we go. Constable Beat's motives for tampering with the crime scene was to hide where the book fell, where the bouquet fell, where the victim fell. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up at all costs. What?
Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Briar Road, we saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know.
That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe, but in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all.
What? What?
I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel. If
If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nepalese friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening?
Right here.
Take that!
But that's...
On the opposite side of the road?
I don't understand.
On the evening in question, Mr. Garadev's book fell directly down from the open window above, and your bouquet, Mrs. B, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious!
Objection!
Okay, sorry about that.
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place.
That's right, I saw it with my own eyes.
It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was the typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, that was actually on the west side of Briar Road.
No, that's not true. It can't have been.
Constable B then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things he's shown in this print, the victim, herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, to the pavement on the east side of the road. Extraordinary. The constable overlooked one thing.
What? What did he overlook?
The bouquet, I presume?
Exactly.
The prosecution told the court just a few moments ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Von Zyke said it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light.
Guess it couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously. Which is why it was only the bouquet. That was found in its original position, on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Constable Royally Beat.
Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I hadn't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important?
Oh, Raleigh. It isn't true, is it? What the lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know.
I had a dream. A terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out. Everything exposed. Only it seems it wasn't a dream at all.
Good golly! The truth. Order! What on earth? What is the meaning of all this?
Oh, Raleigh, why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it?
Actually, the victim dead should be one too. Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London town.
I can't say. Sir,
What?
I really am ever so sorry about all this. For damaging the Yard's reputation, for everything.
I have a possible explanation. For why on that particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move to the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman, and you need to quit with that racism. And yet, Lord Von Zykes, it is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please. Yes, my lord. Now then, I think you had better show us some evidence. At once, my lord. England, Japan, makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions. What gives away the motive for Constable Beat's unthinkable actions? It's gotta be the handbook, right? Or the warrant card, whatever. I realize I'm a foreigner in this land, and I've only just arrived from Japan, which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learned that though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example. Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young Bobby is charged with a great deal to each day, certainly. But for Constable Beat, the day in question was so special. Special how? An account of this bouquet, my lord.
Oh, yes. It was our very first wedding anniversary.
Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford that simple gift for his wife, and was still looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal. When he and Mrs. Beat stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, it must have gone through the man's mind.
But, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. B puts up with a lot being married to a Bobby like me. I want to show my dear wife how much I care.
This is kind of sad. This is the warrant card that Constable Beat offered to lend me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Ah! Constable Beat? Is that or is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day?
Yes. Everything you said, it's all right.
So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat.
Oh!
Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat. Good gracious, Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you have done?
It was the first time since I became a copper that I ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. We've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then, it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? And why tonight of all nights? Why? It's a copper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then when I opened my mouth to speak. It just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat. So you'll have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Yisham Street and then...
Yeah. And that's what happened.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, Constable. I just wanted... just that one night you take my Patricia out for dinner.
Yeah, jobs overworked him. I can relate to that.
Oh, Raleigh. Just that one night.
You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined. So you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction. Just across the street to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care.
You see, I thought... well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, of course he did. Otherwise, my Raleigh would never have left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement.
Oh, I see your meaning now. Man.
The guy got me back from my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat.
Oh no, Raleigh, that was all my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Raleigh.
And can you tell us, Constable? How many books did you move from one side of the road to the other in total?
4 it was, yes, sir. Definitely 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume in the 4th, being the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Garrett Up household, of course.
But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? When all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean.
Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it.
How you found it? What do you mean? She must have picked it up.
When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand.
Sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding?
Oh, yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir.
Interesting.
I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There were only 2 people at the scene, and Pat and me both saw it happen. However, which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who'd done it. I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it.
My lord? Yes, Lord Von Zykes? I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Constable, you may withdraw.
Yes, sir. Oh, Mr. Prosecutor, sir. What will become of my Raleigh? What will happen to him?
For now, you are free to go home. The police will contact you in due course.
Please don't punish my husband. This was all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning about him coming home late. Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired.
Yeah, let the poor dude sleep, at least.
All right then, my love.
One last thing, Constable.
Sir?
Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you.
Yes, sir.
Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime.
Never again, sir? You mean to say...
Leave, now. This trial is not yet over.
Sir?
Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Whoever thought of a third party transplanting the entire scene of a crime like that? Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here, principally that the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is the only person who could possibly have committed this crime. Now it just kind of helps our theory, though. No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there is someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back.
Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already.
Lord Von Zykes, is this true? Very well. Name the person, if you will. If further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing. You will name this other person who could have perpetrated the crime.
Take that!
She needs to learn to control that temper. The defense would once again like to request a cross-examination of a new witness, my lord. Once again. My assistant made the same request earlier, in order to finally reveal the truth about this case. It's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garadeb.
Me? How dare you?
That request has already been denied. But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garadeb, answer me this.
What do you want now, you little toad?
At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Garadeb.
In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited, and to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks over Briar Road.
Well, what of it?
You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of this open, top-hinged casement window, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident.
Yes, and as I said, what of it?
During the argument, you were beside yourself with, I read it too fast. I think it said rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Garradeb. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back, have you really never laid eyes on it before?
Oh! I don't recall it.
Oh, you little liar. Seriously?
Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? And anyway, the man over there and all that regalia said members of the jury needn't testify to anything.
Conveniently, yes. Is it raining? Sounds like it's about to. No, I have no recollection of saying that at all, juror number 4. Oh, got him! Yo. Oh? Make no mistake. You jurors are not special in any way. You're not immune to that judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madam, let the truth come out.
But that's just a common or garden knife. It could have came from anywhere. We have several like that at home. If one went missing, how would you expect me to know?
Well, that's that. Are you joking? What are you saying? Please, Mrs. Garradeb.
Now you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injured someone. Do you hear that? I couldn't bear it. You're the poor woman. So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw that knife if that's what you think. Come along now, chop chop. Do your worst.
If only we had fingerprint analysis. Well,
Mr. Naruhodo?
if I had evidence like that, believe me, I'd have thrown it at her already. Then take the stand, juror.
Oh?
The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman. Once again, Zykes, like, he has very estranged methods, but he still is kind of like a man of justice. And, like, he is starting to see the truth here and wants to pursue it. Thank you, Lord Von Zykes.
I'm going to have to testify?
Come see, Jack. Come on. Juror number 4, as I'm sure you will appreciate, having observed it with your own eyes today. Witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truths of which the witnesses themselves may not even have been aware.
Oh, dearie me.
So I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Mrs. Garradeb. And mark my words, in this court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels? Certainly, my lord. Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, my lord. Here we go. This is such a strange feeling. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm here in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer. Witness, state your name and occupation.
Oh, yes, my name is Joan Garradeb, and I'm a juror and such like.
Sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife or a maid or what anymore. Court has decided your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madam?
Yes, my lord.
You will tell the court everything that took place in your household in the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth.
Oh, dearie me.
Shut up, Joni. Nothing to worry about now.
Oh, I didn't know you were here, John.
Wasn't only you in the room that day, O thing, was it? I think I ought to testify as well, don't you?
What about your knee, dear?
don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a comrade to face disciplinary action alone.
Oh, John.
I presume you're John Garadeb?
Yes, sir. Former second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th Northumberland Fusiliers, sir. Seen my fair share of action and now living the quiet life as it were.
A quiet life? Were you not enraged in an incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question?
Well, yes, quite.
I believe this may represent a first in its proud history of the British court. Calling a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You recount clearly and concisely the events in your home at the time of the incident in question.
Sir, at once.
Here we go, finally.
Yes, on the day you're referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish. Can't recall the reason now. Knocked a candlestick over and set fire to the carpet. Soon had it out though and got the window open.
Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him.
Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I noticed if 1 or 2 went missing, I'm afraid. If that Polly thing in the victim's back really was one of ours, you'd have a job proving it, I think.
Sounds as though it was quite the battlefield in your household that evening. With an entirely one-sided assault, it seems.
The enemy caught us on the hop, sir. Had no choice but to dig in and take defensive measures. To be honest, if the enemy had kept shelling us for another minute, we had been toast. Of course, a veteran such as myself is only too aware on every battlefield you're just a gnat's whisker from death at any moment.
Are we still talking about a marital quarrel here? Well, I must say I'm dubious that this testimony would shed any light on its origins of this jackknife.
Combat once focus narrows such that surroundings are barely noticed. These witnesses may not be able to offer anything more than they have testified already. This may be a dead end. Van Zykes may well be right.
Well, whatever the chances. We only have this last cross-examination to uncover the truth, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, I'm afraid so. So let's get to it. Very well, counsel. Begin your cross-examination.
Hold it!
The reason is what you told us yesterday, I believe.
Yes, that's right. If I remember correctly, it's all started because of a note that was tucked into the pages of a book belonging to Mr. Garadeb.
Rather passionate note, in fact. Mrs. Garadeb found the note discovering her husband's little secret.
And she gave him a mighty number of slaps across the face for it, too.
What a sordid state of affairs. Hell on earth.
I say, when a chap says he can't recall such things, it's common decency not to drag it all up. And besides, half of it was wide of the mark anyway.
A likely story.
These waters run very deep. What transpired next after these multiple blows to the face?
Hold it!
And the fire also spread some items of furniture, didn't it?
The bookcase, my armchair, anything of mine, really. Just so happens there was some bathwater around that evening, so I sloshed that about to put it out.
Most precarious situation you put yourself in.
Ours is a 3-story townhouse on the west side of the street, where the water main isn't connected yet. Have to draw water from a public water pump during the day if you need any, you see.
The lodgers are always moaning that they can't get any water at night. Although that little mustache Japanese man buys water in bottles, I believe.
The defendant, Mr. Natsume, you mean?
Yes, he receives a stipend for his studies, you know, from his home country. Can you imagine being able to brew a pot of tea at all hours? He's obviously very well off.
You actually seen the state of the man?
I believe he uses all of his income to buy books.
Well, anyway, the point is I was able to douse the fire with water, fortunately enough.
Hold it!
Anything. Even though the room was on fire?
As far as I was concerned at the time, It was more important to extinguish my anger than the flames. When a woman wants to throw, she must throw. That's most certainly not true of a Sasato takedown, Mr. Naruhodo.
How does she know I was thinking that? So, please cast your mind back to try and remember. There's a knife among the items that you threw at your husband that day.
In all honesty, I don't recall. But I feel I must point out that I'm no monster. Let me see. Some bread, a cabbage, garlic, a towel, and a sponge. A napkin.
Oh, hello.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. You have something to add, sir? Mr. Garadab.
Don't shoot. Sorry. I beg your pardon.
Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind?
Nothing of any significance, no. Just that the barrage of projectiles the old thing launched into my direction was somewhat more solid than she implies. Books, bricks, and the fire poker, I seem to recall.
Ouch.
And the woman's aim is uncanny. She landed a direct hit with every volley. Ah! Good grief, woman, we're not at home now. This is a court of law.
And his pipe, too.
Oh, dearie me, ever so sorry, dear.
What she's even doing with a teapot in here?
Honestly, John, I would never have thrown such things at you, obviously.
Well, take a look at this then. How do you suppose that happened to?
Your pipe, sir?
Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles she did, yes. When I went to pick the thing up, it was broken into. I'd like to see a sponge do that sort of damage.
I see, your pipe was broken.
It had never been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Anyway, I've managed to bandage the thing up for now.
Huh, you are one to exaggerate, aren't you, dear?
I wonder what we should make of this account. It could be important. The defense believes Mr. Gerda's remarks just now to be of great significance.
This war veterans only tells us one thing. Betray a fiery woman in pipes, as well as hearts, may be broken. Sentimental wisdom, perhaps, but hardly worthy of adding to the formal testimony.
Indeed, common sense, one might say. Might one?
In that case, would you at least permit us to examine the pipe, sir?
Well, I don't see why not.
Oh, dearie me, there you go again, trying to ingrate yourself with a young lady.
Very well, the court will accept the gentleman's pipe as evidence. Alright. I'm not really sure what this is all about, but let's see. Let's take a look. It's got a chipment. What? What is that? The knife tip! Okay, what? Seriously though, what are the odds that this was in here? Whatever. Something just twinkled inside the chamber of the pipe there.
Yes, I saw it. Something's stuck in there, I think.
Let's turn it over and give it a shake. But what's this? It's a tiny fragment of metal.
Looks like the tip of a blade or something.
Tip of a blade? Surely it couldn't be. Small piece of metal that looks like it might be the tip of a knife blade. It was stuck inside the bowl of Mr. Gyarados' pipe.
I wouldn't speak out of turn, Mr. Naruhodo. I was just feeling rather disappointed for you that your request was turned down.
Oh no, it's fine. Thanks to Sasato, we have some new evidence to work with. We should examine it carefully. Well, thank you for that rebuttal, Mr. Garadeb. Now if we can return to the crux of the matter. What can you tell the court about the knife used to attack the victim?
Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I've noticed one or two went missing, I'm afraid. And that bally thing in the victim's act really was one of ours. She'll have a job proving.
Here we go.
Objection.
There we go. Mr. Garadeb, can I ask you to take a good look at this, please?
You can ask, but I can't see a bally thing.
You can't?
Used to call me Dead-Eyed Deb back in the regiment, of course. But that was some time ago now. Even when I'm trying to enjoy a large print book by the fire these days. I struggle to tell a B from a D and a P from a Q, to be honest.
Oh, he does. Dearie me, it's rather wearing being asked about every other letter and every other word.
You must be very dizzy. That was funny. I like that.
What is that? A tiny scrap of metal?
Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear at first to be just a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence.
Interesting. And where did the defense come by this evidence?
It was lodged in the chamber of Mr. Garadev's pipe.
My pipe, you say? By Jove, I wonder how that got there.
What precisely does this fragment of metal signify, Counsel? Are you suggesting that it in some way related to the matter of the stabbing on Briar Road? I am.
What?
When put together with another piece of evidence already in the court record, I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth of the case, my lord. Oh look, she's got a little oh my gosh, look at his robe! You appear rather confident in the extraordinary statement, Counsel. Very well, then present the pertinent evidence to the court. What evidence when paired with this fragment of metal allegedly reveals the truth of the entire case?
Take that!
This is a knife that was found in the victim's back. If you look closely, you will see that there is a small piece at the tip of the blade that is missing.
Common issue with the inferior blades sold at unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly leave the tips lodged in their victims' bones.
What of this particular knife?
No doubt its tip has suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim.
Objection!
No, that's not the case. The tip of this particular knife's blade is a very fragment of metal we discovered in the chamber of Mr. Garadev's pipe.
Ah!
Good grief, Lord Von Zykes!
I don't believe it. The knife from the crime scene and this fragment of metal are a perfect match.
Good golly gosh! Order! Is this some sort of Eastern sorcery?
This is no magic, my lord. This is a miracle.
A miracle? So Von Zykes has figured it out, has he? Counsel, explain this extraordinary coincidence at once. Yes, my lord. The crucial point we have to ask ourselves here is when did the fragment of metal find its way inside of Mr. Garadev's pipe?
Something that was clarified for us in the most recent witness testimony.
Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles she did, yes. It would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Oh, dearie me.
During the argument between these two that occurred just as the victim was on the pavement below, Mrs. Garadev flung this knife at her husband. However, the knife missed Mr. Garadev, instead striking the pipe in his hand at the time.
Which caused the tip to break off, of course.
Good lord! Yes, and that was when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside Mr. Garadev's pipe.
The chances of that are 1,000,000 to 1.
And yet there's no other credible explanation of how the tip of the blade ended up in your pipe. Then after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out of the open window. In short, this knife, which fell from the window of the Garadev's house, is the very same knife that struck the victim in the middle of the back on the street below.
Oh gosh! Oh dear! Oh no!
Objection!
This is interesting.
A full-body theory, I'll give you that. The complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points plausibly arranged to create an almost passable vintage.
Let's just wrap this up. You know we're right.
Allow me to toast my learned friend's characteristically Nipponese approach to bottling his argument.
Sorry?
But after all, it is just a theory. The bottle, I fear, is corked. Because you see,
Quit trying to show us your boots.
it's spoiled by an unsurmountable inconsistency.
An unsurmountable what? Lord Von Zykes, explain yourself. What is this inconsistency you claim to have been identified?
An inconsistency of the simplest nature, my lord. The victim was found with the knife planted in the middle of her back.
Yes, in her... Ah. Because she was bending over to pick up the book.
That's right, you silly little man.
Now, Jono thing, what are you getting so excited about? Let's consider the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking along the pavement before being stabbed in the back and falling to the ground, and the knife that struck her had fallen from above.
Would have landed on her head.
There's no possible way it could have planted itself into the victim's back.
Ah!
Order, order.
Quite right, you see, that's exactly why. If the knife had fallen on her from above, would have struck her on top of her head.
Well, he's lost for words. Look. I knew it. I never liked his theories in the first place. I don't know, though, what really did happen?
It would appear the defense has made a rather spectacular blunder.
If a theory has even one inconsistency it cannot stand, your theory, my learned friend, is history.
We were so close. I could see the truth. I was so sure we were on the right track. But now the way has been blocked completely by just one simple inconsistency. Or in other words,
We simply need to eliminate that one inconsistency and the theory will stand.
Miss Sato?
You mustn't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. You were just caught off guard, that's all. And your mind went blank. But if the path you were on is indeed correct, then a way will present itself. The key to this is in the court record, I'm sure. All the information you need is there.
Seems you have nothing to say, my Nepalese friend. Well, your silence speaks volumes. A tacit acceptance that your theory is fatally flawed.
Objection!
there we go. This inconsistency doesn't mean I was on the wrong track. It means that I need to sharpen my mind and dig deeper for the truth. A test. Yes. If the knife fell on the victim from above, there's no way that it could have hit her in the middle of her back. Under normal circumstances, that is.
What are you implying?
Counsel? There is a piece of evidence in the court record that can explain this inconsistency. That can explain how the knife that fell up from the above could have pierced the victim's back. We already have the answer.
Goodness!
Utter madness.
Surely this must be the last time. Counsel, present the evidence of which you speak.
This is the last inconsistency, the final piece in the puzzle. If I can successfully make sense of this, the truth will be laid bare at last. The evidence that explains how the falling knife became lodged in the victim's back is Del Book.
Take that!
This, the fourth book found at the scene. This is the final piece of evidence the defense will present.
The burnt book?
Is that not Mr. Garadeb's book?
Yes, and to understand its significance, we have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. This photographic print clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand.
But as we all know, it was the police constable that put the book between her fingers like that.
Quite so, as part of the wholesale transplanting of the crime scene to the opposite side of the road.
That's true, however. As part of his testimony, Constable Beat made an extremely enlightening statement at that point. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand?
Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding that book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand.
In other words, the victim had already picked the book up of her own volition. And clearly, that must have been before she suffered the knife wound.
Well, I should say so. It's being attacked with a knife. I don't imagine she's been doing much of anything.
So the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand?
By Jingo! I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened now.
Oh, dearie me!
We know that the book fell from the top floor of the Garadeb household into the pavement below. precisely the moment that the victim was walking past.
Yes, at exactly that moment, the young woman was walking along the street in the light fog, when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her.
The book I threw?
Yes, Mrs. Garrideb, and what do you think that woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement?
Well, I really can't imagine it. But I suppose she might have reached down and picked the book up.
Yes, that's exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book.
Oh, heavens!
And when the woman reached down to pick the fallen book up, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. Then in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book, the next object fell from the room above, the jackknife, straight into the middle of her back. And at that same time, walking by chance directly behind Miss Green, was the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume.
Well, I'd never.
It appears to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor, in the dark and the fog, and didn't see the knife falling on her from above.
Oh,
And from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her apparent attacker.
So there never was a real culprit to run from the scene in the first place.
No, this was nothing more than a series of unlikely events that accumulated in an unfortunate accident. And that is the real truth behind this case. Busted. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb,
the very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicions. I wonder if perhaps it might have been something like that.
There, old bean.
Poor Mrs. Garrideb. Of course, I never meant for anything of the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it? I take full responsibility. I let my anger get the better of me. I threw that book, and I threw that knife as well. John, dear,
It's alright, I know.
I'm ever so sorry. Truly. I'm sorry!
catch her, dude, catch her, she caught you! Yeah, there we go. He's trying. Oh, look at his knees. Well, he tried. Meanwhile, Drew number 6 is still guilty. He still has vote, still guilty.
What one likes? What news of Mrs. Garrideb?
She's been taken to the infirmary. It would appear that today's events have left her in an especially flustered state. However, I believe she will recover in due course. There's no cause for concern.
Yes, unbeknownst to themselves, they caused what could easily have been a terrible tragedy. They shall have to prepare themselves for the consequences of their actions.
There is some good news, however, my lord. I just have word from the hospital where the victim is being treated. Her condition is improving steadily, and the doctor believes she will regain consciousness soon.
It's strange. We've been talking about the victim all this time, but we've never once met her.
How wonderful, the woman is out of danger, it seems.
Yes, that is good news.
So, Mr. Sasaki Natsume?
Yes.
On behalf of my fellow countrymen, we'd like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir. You came from your distant eastern homeland to study our great British culture, and have been repaid with immeasurable unkindness. Please accept our heartfelt apologies.
No, it's me who should be begging your pardon. Oh no, Mr. Natsume. That evening, when the young woman just collapsed on the pavement before my eyes, I jumped to the wrong conclusion again in my confusion.
What conclusion, sir? I was sure that the woman was dead.
This Constable Pete said the same thing, didn't he? He thought she had been killed too.
I suppose she must have looked completely lifeless.
It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't get used to life here. I can't relax. I'm sure there are evil spirits lurking in the fog. Like they're haunting me.
Poor Soseki-san. His imagination really has got the better of him.
This poor man.
So what had happened? I thought the young woman had been taken by the fog spirits. I should never have dropped my books like that and ran away. I should have called for help, for a doctor, for the police. Instead, I've managed to create a rift in the relationship of trust between our two empires. And for that, I am truly sorry.
Oh, hey, look, Gyarados now is a witness, or I mean a juror.
One could indeed say this some sort of mischievous spirit has been at work here, I think, and that created a chain of unfortunate mishaps. We were befooled by the spirit and led to false conclusions, but thanks to Lord Von Zykes and our young lawyer here from the east, that chain has now been broken and the spirit exorcised. I heartily commend you both.
Oh.
Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes, my lord.
In concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for your decision regarding the defendant's culpability. Are you ready to present your findings to the court?
As the foreman of this jury, I can assure you we've reached a fair and just conclusion.
I do declare the truth can be extremely cruel at times.
Well, I didn't expect the woman next to me, that's for sure.
Sitting in for the
old beam while she's out of action, you know. But I know what her decision would be.
Does this mean I'll finally be able to get out of here and start work? Well, it's about time.
I say I'll have a corker of a story to tell the grandchildren when I get home, won't I?
Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby demand your final decisions. Mr. Foreman.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
There we go.
We did it! Whoop, 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 whoop.
Very well, Mrs. Soseki Natsumi, I hereby pronounce you
Not guilty.
Woohoo!
Throw that confetti. It feels good this time around. What? They got fireworks too? What the heck? It's kind of a hazard.
And finally, Mr. Natsume. Oh yes, Lord Sir. You are now a free man once more. It is my hope that you will continue to further your education in British culture. And may you never again be brought before me. Oh yes, sir, of course. On my life, I swear I'll never set foot in a courtroom again. I'm transported 2 tears. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned.
We did it. Wait, you mean me? Wait, what did he say? I missed it. Oh, he said locum.
Of course! Is there another locum here?
Is there even one?
Compared to the original locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, your name has become rather short, hasn't it?
What's wrong with using my actual name?
At last, I'm free! I'm free! Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation! Heady, hearty, happiness, hooray! Hurrah!
Oh, I'm pleased. Mr. Natsume is delighted.
Would it be so hard just to say that then?
Locum, you did it! You saved me from the brink!
Well, what happened to the poor woman was in no way your fault after all. I'm just glad everyone can see that now.
No, not that! Lovely, loyal, locum, lawyer!
Oh, yes?
I mean, as I said before, I've just never got used to life here in Great Britain. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see foreigners. I see towering brick buildings. And from high up windows, I see them looking down at me, laughing. Look at that little hunchback.
Oh dear. I'm sure it's all in your head, Mr. Natsume.
But Today, you locum lawyer gave my gloom the bulu. You stood firm behind that barrel bench before all those babbling British. You battled to the bitter end, laying bare the baffling truth. When I beheld the blinding fireworks among the beams of the Bailey's roof, I bellowed, "Behold, the best barrister ever born!"
Well, that's very flattering, and we're very pleased for you.
This has given me a wonderful antidote to recount to my old friends back in Japan.
And an antidote? Is that what's become of all my hard work? There you are, my dear fellow. Oh, yeah, just Hermlock. I apologize for keeping you waiting. I rose late this morning.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, what a pleasure to see you.
I see I am here not a moment too soon. A disaster has been averted, I'm glad to say.
Oh?
The trial shall begin presently, Mr. Naruhodo, and I wish you the very best of luck. Oh my gosh, you really did sleep. He slept for literally like 3 hours late then. Just going off the time of the stream. It just finished. What? No. Then my haste was in vain.
Oh, it's you! Herlock Sholmes!
Oh, have we met, sir?
This is Mr. Natsume, the man you just arrested, Mr. Sholmes.
Oh, I see. I failed to recognize you at first. Our previous encounters have taken place in the gloom, either of your bleak lodgings or that prison cell. I simply couldn't place that curious face in the light. Charming.
This is all your fault, Herlock Sholmes. You're the reason I had to go through this terrible ordeal. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind.
My apologies, sir, but I assure you, I have placed you now. Wait. You're the fellow who abandoned that poor young lady and ran off, are you not? Has she been taken to the hospital more urgently? I felt perhaps she would have regained consciousness by now. Oh. But it was unavoidable, I'm sure. But we are all human after all. Anyone would have been shaken by such an experience.
I do feel very badly about how I behaved.
Well, never mind. Now then, what was it that you wanted to say to me, sir?
Nothing.
Ha 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 ha! Precisely. Oh, I'm sorry, really, but that was quite priceless. Seki-san. Still, on the bright side, you've had an extremely entertaining experience without paying a penny. And it would seem you were not even found guilty.
But there is no bright side.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Natsume?
Even after this, I'm still cursed by the spirits, and now by the Reaper.
Ah, Lord Von Zykes.
I haven't forgotten, you know, what facing that man in court means. Even if you're found not guilty, you're still doomed.
It'll be alright, Mr. Natsume. If the Reaper appears trying to make trouble, I will protect you.
Hiya! Oh, why me?
With a perfectly executed Susato takedown.
Much as I like being turned on my head, a bit of warning might be nice next time, Miss Susato. So, Mr. Natsume, what do you intend to do now? You mentioned something about recounting your experiences to your friends back in Japan.
Yes, I intend to return to my homeland soon.
Oh?
It has already been a year since I arrived here in Great Britain. I've visited universities, libraries, bookshops. I've been honored with the tutelage of professors. I've learned so much about the weather of literature here and the city it has shaped. And I've come to realize that it is my calling to sail home and tell my fellow countrymen about it.
That's very touching, Mr. Natsume.
Or, in perhaps less veiled terms, you wish to withdraw halfway around the world, escape the terror of the Reaper's curse? That's not it at all! Probably partially it.
The more I learn of literature, the more this strange feeling claws up my insides. I feel compelled to return to my roots and attempt to pen a work of my own.
Oh, I see. A work of literature by Soseki-san. Could be an interesting read. And what about Miss Sasato and yourself, Mr. Naruhodo?
Sorry, what about us? Will you return to Japan alongside your mustached compatriot? Why would we?
A week has not yet passed since we arrived in London.
Yeah, I mean, it would not be worth it having to be on the boat for that long to only be here for a week.
And only now does it feel as though we finally found our feet.
And you are accommodated in a hotel at present, are you not? That's right, but we need to find lodgings before it bankrupts us.
But calculated, we can only afford another 10 nights before our entire budget is exhausted.
Well then, you could take my lodgings. Oh, joy. Oh, the windowless room? Oh, but what it lacks in windows. It's more than makes up for with the floor, ceiling, and walls. Great. And of course, I'd be happy to leave behind the accursed evil spirit.
Oh my, an evil spirit!
Oh yes, it tries to suffocate you while you sleep. It's an infallible wake-up call. Well, think about it if that's alright. Perhaps I can offer a more welcome alternative. Would you consider taking lodgings with me? Oh, you know Sasato's gonna jump on that.
Really?
Well, a vacancy has conveniently presented itself. Those up in the attic, I might add. Are you sure it isn't just a storage loft? I spoke with the landlady this very morning on the matter of price, and Iris is cleaning the room as we speak. You must come at once. I presume you have no luggage to speak of.
Oh, this is simply wonderful. What an honor to be invited to taking lodgings in the great detective's office. Attic. I'm too overcome for words.
So suggesting we look elsewhere is out then. Then it's settled. Iris will prepare a welcome dinner this evening. And you must come too, Mr. Natsume, I insist. I don't know what to say. But thank you, and yes.
Wonderful. Then I'll go and complete the paperwork for your formal release, Mr. Natsume. It shan't take long.
Somebody's happy. Locum, I knew that you wouldn't let me down. I'm truly delighted to have met you here in London. Likewise, Mr. Natsume. It's been a privilege meeting you here. It's a shame that we're going to have to say goodbye so soon. Well, I've come to realize that I belong in Japan. But Locum, we'll meet again one day. Yes, I'm sure. And hopefully by then, I'll be a successful lawyer. Hopefully by then, I'll be a successful author. Well, my dear fellow, our carriage appears to have arrived. Shall we go, Mr. Naruhito? Yes, Mr. Sholmes. I've little doubt Mr. Natsume will be released in time for dinner this evening. And so, with Soseki-san's innocence successfully established, we rode with Mr. Sholmes to what was to become our new home. 221B Baker Street. That's nice. Wow, it actually looks pretty good. I thought it would be a lot smaller. It's got a window and everything. February 20th, the attic room. It's very spacious. So this, I could clean it up a bit, you know, spruce it up, make it look good.
This will be our new office, yes?
Our office? I really like the sound of that.
Me too, it's simply wonderful, isn't it?
Hope you can see this, Kazuma. It's only a small step. But I like to think we're getting a little closer to your dream now. So, my dear fellows, do you like the place? Oh, he looks so different. He looks so serious, jeez.
Well, Mr. Sholmes, thank you so much. It's a delightful room, Mr. Sholmes. I simply adore it.
Good, I'm pleased to hear it. Iris and I are delighted to welcome you.
I hope everyone's hungry. It's nearly time for dinner. We'll leave as soon as Mr. Natsume arrives. We have a lot to celebrate. Iris, you must simply let me help you. All right, then, Susie. You can be in charge of the salad.
At least it's something. That guy looks interesting.
Splendid.
So, Mr. Naruhito, how does it feel to have your own office in the capital? It's very exciting, actually. I can't help wondering what adventures await us. Ha 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 ha!
Those were precisely my sentiments when I first established my office at these premises. Until I discovered the dark truth about the city of London, that is. Sorry? London is a glorious place, full of wonders, opportunity, prosperity, and mirth. But the brightest of lights cast the darkest of shadows. Shadows? What do you mean? Well, I believe you're well aware of the murkiness that lies behind London's facade already. So once again, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London. Of course, at the time, I had no idea the significance of those words Mr. Sholmes so casually spoke. But it wasn't long before my turn came to lift the facade and see the true depth of the murk that lay behind it. Ooh, one case left to go. That was interesting. Landed in London. Save your progress right now.